we're talking about the general rule.
Yeah. In general, you cannot fight your biology.
Yeah, you can go ahead and work against it as much as possible, but at some point, your biology is going to creep up and tell you a thing or two, whether you like it or not.
And, uniquely, this is one of those things where it's like you can't fight your biology. You want to have kids, and you can't actually carry/birth a child. And that was your expectation. Now, how you navigate that needs to be together, no matter what. It needs to, we're talking about renegotiating terms and stuff, but how you navigate that. And that is also why you're committing to the marriage rather than the wedding, and by extension, the wedding and the white picket fence and the whole family portrait thing. But first of all, you need to commit to the individual. Is this the kind of person that you want to walk through all of those things with?
It's been so long since I've seen that movie. It's about the old parents, or the old people
there's
at the end.
Old guy at the end. He's all crusty and stuff because he went through a lot of stuff and they couldn't have kids. She got him to do a lot of stuff and she was like the fun one. And he was like no.
The grumpy one.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But anyway, you have to re-educate yourself later.
Yeah. It's a matter of whether I take the time to do that, right? Let's see. So we're talking around this topic of contracts for a relationship. And I think, generally speaking, there was an old contract that was in place like maybe prior to the 1960s and the sexual revolution, and then a new contract that's kind of come about from the Industrial Revolution and from the rise of capitalism and feminism and things of that nature that have kind of done away with a lot of the old contract in popular culture, even though I think a lot of people want to draw from an old contract and get the stability of elements of the old contract while getting all the freedom without the responsibility in the new contract. So let's go ahead and talk about these things.
They want to have that both and rather than either or. This is where the both and is not the best move.
Sure. All right. So things about the old contract. We're going to say the weird thing. The basic trade between men and women since the beginning of time is men provide resources and security in exchange for sexual access and child rearing. That's the basic trade.
That is meat and potatoes, like the basic contract right there.
And for the vast majority of human history, a lot of that was because women were dependent on men for these things, right? Men could go ahead and cultivate and extract resources from the natural world without the assistance of women. And women, generally speaking, could not do that to the same level as men because they lacked in physicality and other things that were required of the old world.
Yeah. I mean, proponents of feminism today use that as a, like, how could you oppress us? Like, that women couldn't even have a credit card or take out a loan by themselves until the 70s. Because prior to that, maybe like within that span where it's like, we got to change this, we need to change it, they didn't need to.
Right, because they had access to their husband's lines of credit and things of that nature. And though they could not have it on their own, they also, on the flip side, could not incur debt.
Again, generally speaking, like, of course, there are people who, it made impossible in an abusive relationship to get out and all of that stuff. Cool. We said it. We know. But this is pragmatically the way it's been as far as, that's what culture has, the trend that culture has set.
Sure. And the thing is, when the general trade has been that way for thousands of years, it's kind of hard to break that trend, right? It becomes a natural proclivity. Mm-hmm. In fact, men's testosterone reinforces that at a biological level because right around 16 or 17, you got the raging hormones, and what you want is sex. Mm-hmm. You want it. And the thing is, you will do just about anything to get it. It is a natural drive that your genetics scream at you to go ahead and propagate yourself.
Can't fight your biology.
You can't fight your biology. I think it's interesting how there is such a huge difference between the men's sex drive and the women's sex drive that most women cannot fathom like what it feels like to have that. until a lot of women, when they get menopausal and then they get hormone treatment and get testosterone, then they start feeling it.
Like, wait.
What in the world is this?
It's like, wait, this is what was going on? Oh my goodness.
Right, but therapeutic level of testosterone for women is still just a small portion of what a naturally occurring, vibrant male level of testosterone is. And so even with that small amount, you see these crazy sex drives that come out, and it's surprising to a lot of women when they undergo that treatment.
I mean, I've had friends who are trans, and they've told me when they transition, especially they start with the hormones, and even from being a male to being a female, like, and getting female hormones, like,
Sure, getting female hormones.
Oh my goodness, I am totally sometimes completely not in control of my emotions. I don't even know what's happening. It's so stupid. And my brain is telling me this is dumb, but my feelings are just like, whoosh. The range and intensity of emotions are just like how even where you are like, well, this is kind of purple, but it's like, it's mauve, you know?
Mauve.
Like colors
or periwinkle.
The nuance of colors are, you're like, what the hell is periwinkle? You know, stuff like that where they see the difference in a lot of things. And I think that was an interesting interface to have with someone where they have that experience, and to listen to that, you know.
That side of the coin.
Yeah, to see that, yes, your hormones have a ton of effect on your behavior, on your perception of the world, and just getting a firsthand account of how much when that script is flipped.
Sure. And when you go ahead and grow up with one hormonal profile, and then you decide that you want to go ahead and go for another hormonal profile, of course you're going to have these crazy radical changes in like your behavior and how you perceive the world around you. So decisions have consequences. And if you go ahead and mess around with your biology, it turns out that things come up that you would not expect, generally speaking.
So let's try and all have a little bit of understanding about the sex drive.
Sure. And another thing that's a natural proclivity that's a part of this old contract is most women have been driven for a desire to be mothers and to nurture those around them. Because one of the things that you say is that one of the deepest desires of women is not only to know others, but to have others know them. Mm-hmm. Right? And it speaks to a lot of the social nature that is ingrained in women from back in the day, when your survival as a woman is partially linked to your acceptability among other women in the tribe.
Yeah, definitely. And if you interface with somebody who is a parent, who is a mother, specifically a mother, and this is kind of at the forefront of my brain because now we have a 15-year-old daughter.
Sure.
Who shares a birthday with me that we just celebrated yesterday. The fact that when women tell others that it's like a piece of your heart is living outside of your body, like at this juncture, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's such a cliche. But I really, at this point, as you know, she is becoming a young woman and she is inching ever closer to being her own person, her own adult woman. I really do feel the weight of that now. And it's just a unique experience. And it really gets me personally thinking about, this is the greatest way that a mother can set up her own legacy, is to raise a child who is, you know, quite a decent human being.
Right. And the thing is, you had a hand in helping her to get a set of values that you want to see propagated in the world around you.
Definitely.
Right.
Like that is, we are always never more than one generation from radical cultural change, as we are seeing, as we're discussing here, like from the baby boomers propagating the women's rights movement, the whole like hippified burning bras, all of that stuff. And then you see it in the 90s in that actual sexual revolution with the gay rights movement and all of that stuff. You see culture take the torch from the women's rights movement and propel it forward. And it's interesting that you see the culture of the 60s and then the culture of the 90s. That's one giant leap forward toward this more progressive culture.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. If you'd like to see more from this podcast, you can go ahead and click here, where the podcast episode is linked in its entirety. If you're new here, you might want to consider subscribing right here. Thanks so much. Make it a great day.